Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown Driver, and Gordy Gundaker World of Outlaws Late Model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
Good evening, and welcome to the IROC Challenge Series, live from one of the lost but never forgotten NASCAR tracks, North Wilkesboro Speedway. Just north of Charlotte, this historic track is one of the most beloved ever seen on the NASCAR schedule by racers and fans alike. Tonight, it's race number 2 of the first round of the chase for the IROC Challenge Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joey Atterbury, and joining me in the booth tonight is our expert commentator, Chris Foby. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and we'll be using cameras supplied by the one and only Dougie Beard. Before we dive into the racing action tonight, let's get a rundown of this historic NASCAR classic from the informative GSRC track guide.
North Wilkesboro is a legend in the world of NASCAR, the very first NASCAR sanctioned track. Before falling into the clutches of NASCAR's expansion of the mid to late 90s, NASCAR Cup cars made 2 trips here a year. Petty, Allison, Waltrip, Earnhardt, Bonnet, Gordon. The list of winners here reads of NASCAR's legends. North Wilkesboro opened as a dirt track, having the same shape that it does to this day. In the late 50s, it was paved. This is when it became the track we know of today. This 5/8 mile oval is known for keeping a lot of speed on entry into those 14-degree bank corners. For a long part of NASCAR's early years, this was one of the fastest short tracks around, and with it, the unique characteristic, partly a result of lack of funds when they first cut the track. You go downhill on the front stretch and uphill on the back stretch. Also, the 2 corners aren't the same radius, but you might not notice that as much at speed. While North Wilkesboro is mostly known for Cup cars, other NASCAR divisions reigned here over the years. Grand National had a few races. The trucks were here for 2 races before the speedway shut down. Modifieds also made some trips to North Wilkesboro. In the attempted restart in 2010, several late model and super late model series held races here, but it wasn't to be, and the speedway fell silent. Until now. Thanks to the efforts of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and iRacing, North Wilkesboro breathes life again in this virtual world, as it did in 1987. Now it's time for the Blue Ridge Mountains to hear the thunder again here on GSRC.
Well, now that we've got a little bit of a peek of tonight's venue, Chris, why don't you give us a little taste of tonight's action that we're going to see tonight?
Well, this is another track that's just absolutely one of a kind from the good old days of the embryonic stage of stock car racing. This is a track where these cars are going to be cruising along pretty fast for the size here. It's a 5/8 mile, so it's got a bit of size for a short track. Of course, you have the uphill and downhill straightaways that are going to really change up corner entry. It's really rough asphalt where the cars are going to be sliding around, so really passing is going to be at a premium here. You're going to have a good handle on what's underneath you if you want to be able to complete the passes, but don't be too surprised to see a couple 2 and 3 wide racing moments throughout this one as drivers get a grip of this tight short track.
That is the name of the game with short track racing. We're definitely going to see lots of multiple grooves out there here at North Wilkesboro, but first we want to take a look and thank our sponsors, Zoe's Place. The mission of Zoe's Place Child Advocacy Center is to minimize trauma to child victims of sexual abuse and neglect by providing a centralized, safe, and child-friendly facility from which a multi-class or multidisciplinary team, MDT, conducts investigations and intervention activities. Our goals are to reduce trauma, seek justice, and foster hope and healing for children and their non-offending caregivers. R&R Racewear, your source to customize all racewear apparel needs and home to iRacing apparel. Check it out today at r-rracewear.com. Evidence-Based Mommy. Have questions about parenting or non-toxic living? Visit evidence-basedmommy.com, where Dr. Samantha Radford combines science and wellness to help parents and kids thrive. Lucky Finn. We're proud to celebrate the Lucky Finn Project, who has created a nationwide support network for parents of kids with limb differences and provides limb difference education and awareness. Find more info at luckyfinnproject.org. Also want to give a shout out to the Hot Dog Stand podcast, as well as sim coaches out there. They're joining us tonight as well. And I know that before we dive into any of the action, these cars are just starting qualifying. We can take a look at the championship and what's going on. Like we mentioned, this is race number 2 of the first round of the chase. Aaron Smith took home the win last week at Michigan. He has locked himself into next week. And really, the standings that we're seeing right now are the results from the Michigan race. Got Aaron Smith out front leading the way over Neil Quick, Brian McCann, Kevin McCann there in 4th, and Chris Medford in 5th place. Brandon Mefford 6th, Jesse King, Mike Cook, Chris Wally, and Brandon LeClaire round out the top 10 currently in the points, Chris.
That is for sure. And Neil Quick really starting to peak at the right time of the season. Coming into the playoffs, it was a bit up and down for him, but he's peaking at the right time. And the back end of the chase standings, these are the drivers that might be at risk of falling out. Cook Quick in 11th, Kyle Pendergraft 12th, Joshua Funkhauser, David Trumbley, Hunter Clark, and Tim Schofield. Those are the drivers that are really going to be shooting for victory lane here today.
Yeah, they got to have a good, solid points finish. There are 3 more races here in this first round, and just got to stay consistent out there. But yeah, if you can snag that win, it'll lock you into the next round, which is always a nice feeling. And Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit more about tonight's race?
Yep, this is the second round of the chase, as mentioned. It's going to be 150 laps here at North Wilkesboro. That's going to click off pretty quick here with sub 20-second laps. These guys are racing on a fixed setup with no spare car, which is very tough here on the short courses. They have 4 total sets of tires to get through, unless you're Aaron Smith, who loses a set for being a winner, and 3 green-white checkers are on deck if needed.
Yeah, definitely. And like we mentioned, Aaron Smith has locked his way in with that race win last week at Michigan. And for all you wondering, there's still 3 races left here in the first round, and the top 10 drivers will move on. Something else that's interesting tonight, we got 2 minutes left in qualifying. Tonight is a Dash for Cash race, and the drivers that are eligible for the $100 tonight are the drivers in the championship positions number 9 through 16, and the highest finisher tonight will take home that $100 in cash, and that's got to be a good feeling, Chris.
I mean, it's always better to leave the session with more money than you started with. And $100 on the line for a race like this is definitely a healthy amount of change. So look at those drivers 9th through 16th in points, and things could get a little elbows out and fists up.
Yeah, we're riding on board here with Chris Mefford currently in the 10th place in qualifying. Looks like we got just under a minute and a half left. Aaron Smith, last week's winner, leads the way on provisional pole with an 18.8, followed by Brandon Mefford with only 0.08 of a second difference there, with Kevin McCann in 3rd, Mike Cook 4th, and Brian McCann rounding out the top 5 as we got a little spin out of Jamie Abril there. Looks like just got loose coming out of turn 2. Maybe got on the throttle a little early there.
Do want to make a quick note. It's actually 125 laps that they'll be going. Got a little overexcited and misread the feed there. But yeah, 125 laps will be the distance. And don't forget, Aaron Smith, by virtue of his victory last week, he'll be dropping to the end of the line at the start of the race. So not only does he have to work through all this tough traffic on a short track, he also is going to have to do it from the very back of the field.
Yeah, that is an interesting note. And another little note about tonight's race is these cars are just winding down qualifying, and they'll be setting the grid here soon. There will be 2 cautions thrown tonight manually for stages. They'll come in at lap 50 and lap 90, and they will simulate, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 out there, which will be 50 laps for the first stage, 40 laps for the second stage, and probably close it out with about 35 laps with that final stage there, pending those green-white checkers that you talked about. Now, Chris, last week we were at Michigan, a super fast, high-speed 2-mile track. Now we're here to a short track of North Wilkesboro, but not really a short track. It's kind of a big short track, isn't it?
Yeah, like we mentioned in the pre-race show, it is a 5/8 mile, and this track has pretty long sweeping corners, and especially as you go downhill into turn 3, I mean, you carry so much speed down there. I mean, it really doesn't feel like a short track.
No, it doesn't. And you mentioned it. It's kind of interesting with this downhill into turn 1. If we keep riding on board here, looks like we're riding on board with Walker. And it's uphill going into turn 3. And then as you come out of turn 4, the track starts to fall away and it's totally downhill into turn 1, which is an interesting characteristic that you don't really see out of any other racetrack out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why it was such a staple and why fans really loved it. It was so different.
And the funny part is that was all completely by accident, more or less. They knew the ground was uneven when they started building the racetrack back in the early 40s, but they ran out of cash. They were going to level things out, but just couldn't afford to do it. So what became a noteworthy characteristic of the Speedway was really just a result of going broke while trying to build it.
That's an interesting little tidbit there. And I think we actually have a couple onboard cameras here tonight. First up, we got Brian McCann. He's in the number 3 car, this blue and yellow car. And awesome onboard cam. Ooh, gets a little bit of loose out of turn 2. Thankfully, it's just the warm-up there. He's smiling, hit that reset button. We've also got a couple more people on board here with us. Looks like this is Mike Cook out there getting ready in pit lane, just kind of taking a breather. That's honestly how I'd be spending my warm-up, just kind of hanging out, getting ready for it all. And then we also have a third cam out there, the number 33 car. That is Kevin McCann out there. He's going to be bringing you some live action shots. So happy to be sporting all 3 of these competitors tonight. And I'm sure as we do our 125 laps, we'll check in on how concentrated they are, how distracted they are, and maybe if they're sweating out there.
Yeah, the cool thing about those onboard cameras, you can literally get so much detail. You can see the sweat on their brow.
It is, as we ride on board with Brandon Leclerc right now. Once again, these cars are just in a 5-minute warm-up. We just got over 2 minutes left. Chris, you mentioned it. This racetrack has a very worn-out surface. It's very bumpy, and even in just the warm-up right now, I'm seeing a lot of cars really slide around, maybe lose their setup over these bumps, and it really seems to unsettle the drivers and the cars.
Yeah, I remember the first time I actually drove on this track when it first came to the iRacing service, and I could not believe how slick it felt. That asphalt is totally used up, and it's just so hard to keep the tires underneath you. Luckily, the track will be rubbering up. They'll get a little bit of help that way, but coming out on this track when it's nice and cold, and gosh, it is a challenge to say the least.
It is an old school style racetrack. Take a little peek at the weather here tonight, and a nice, cool 72-degree air temperature. Track's a little bit warmer, almost 100-degree track temperature. Wind not really playing a factor. It's a nice partly cloudy day, so I don't suspect that the weather is really gonna wreak havoc on these guys unless we start to see it rise even more in track temperature. 100 degrees is plenty warm, and once you get it up 105, 110, these drivers are really gonna feel it, and these cars are gonna become even more slippery out there on the already bumpy, high grip or highly worn surface.
Yeah, it's like when the track heats up, it feels like it brings all the oils and stuff to the surface. Even if we're racing virtually here, it still kind of has a similar effect, and it makes the track race like it's kind of greasy almost, like a sloppy dirt track.
It makes those tires underneath you feel a little bit like gummy bears, if you can picture that. You're used to these really sticky tires that when you turn in, it provides you immense amounts of grip. And then you get into a really hot and slick racetrack and you go in and turn in and it just feels like you got gummy bears that are gooey underneath and you're sliding all over the place. It's definitely an interesting feeling. Looks like all of these competitors here are going to be wrapping up this warm-up session. Only got about 5 seconds left here. A couple cars decided not to turn any lap times, and we'll take a look at tonight's qualifying grid here at North Wilkesboro Speedway for the IROC Challenge Series. And I know that we're very excited tonight. Like I mentioned, we're doing 125 laps. These cars are just wrapping up that warm-up session. And we're going to be getting Barney waving the checkered flag and cars setting the grid currently. All right, looks like the fans are in the stands. And currently, our pole sitter, Aaron Smith, at an 18.8 in that number 70 car. Second place, Brandon Mefford with an 1892. Row number 2, Kevin McCann, followed by Mike Cook. Brian McCann rounds out the top 5. Jesse King there in 6th place. Tim Schofield, David Brown, Neil Quick, and Chris Mefford round out the top 10. Chris?
Starting just outside of the top 10 is going to be Joshua Funkhauser in 11th over Stoney Benfield in 12th. Dylan Dellinger will be starting 13th with Chris Wally next to him. Brandon LeClaire will be inside of row 8 with Cook Quick to his outside, followed by David Trumbley, Jeff Napier, Bill Walker, and Jamie Abril closing out the top 20 starters.
Definitely there in 21st, we got James Kaufman and Curtis Rogers rounding out the 22-car field. Right now, the pace car is leading this grid away, and like you mentioned it, Chris, we got that number 70 car dropping to the rear of the field, which is going to make him start last, but he is locked into that next round of the chase, so don't worry too much over there, and I feel like it's going to be interesting watching him come up through the field. Looks like we might already have the pace car lights off here on the pace car. Looks like we're going to have one more time around here as we'll have timing and scoring reset. That is Brandon Mefford in the 83. That's going to be Kevin McCann there in the 33, I believe. That's going to be lining up there next to him. 125 laps here at North Wilkesboro. Chris, any final comments about the action we're about to see?
Gotta love good old-fashioned short track racing, and this is about as old school as it gets here on the 1987 configuration of North Wilkesboro. I am ready to see some short track action.
We are about to see some short track action as the pace car is currently rounding out of turn 4 right now, leading the field down towards Barney, that 83 and 33 on the front row. And we've got a green flag in the air, a little bit of a stack up there in row number 2 and 3, but the front gets away cleanly with a 33 down low. But look at this, the 83 on the high side really taking the fight right back up to him, as maybe a couple cars tag the wall coming out of turn 2, but for the most part, it looks pretty clean to complete lap 1.
Yeah, this track is deceptively wide going into the corners. You can see the way the wall pushes out. You have so much more room through the corners, but you get off of the turn, and that wall will come up and grab you real quick.
It will grab you and it will spit you out. Riding on board right now with Kevin McCann, our leader in the 33 car, as it looks like we've got a spin on the front straightaway. I think that was Jesse King in the number 25 car that just maybe got loose out of turn 3. I wasn't sure if there was any contact involved there. I'm sure we'll get a replay here in just a minute as this field gets regathered under the safety car. And Chris, why don't you walk us through this? Like, yeah, I think he just got on the gas a little bit too soon there, wouldn't you say? I think he did. I think he's just on the throttle a little bit too soon and probably coming over the bumps, maybe didn't have the tires quite up to temperature right now. And just kind of around it went as he comes out onto the front straightaway. Unfortunately, it looks like he avoided any walls, so no contact on that number 25 car. Probably not a bunch of tire damage either. He'll get back into the race. And right now, to set the grid up front right here, it is Kevin McCann in the 33, followed by Brandon Mefford in that 83. Brian McCann in the number 3 in third place, Tim Schofield and Mike Cook rounding out the top 5. Something that was pretty prevalent back last week is it almost seemed like a WWE battle between the brothers out here. We got the McCanns, we got the Meffords. It just seemed like a tag team match, and you always had to watch your back out there, Chris.
Well, the McCanns there for a little. The McCanns back earlier in the season were more like Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty there for a little bit. They ended up collecting each other earlier on in the season at Fontana, racing for the win. So keep in mind, they may be brothers, but that doesn't mean they're going to go easy on each other.
Yeah, no, racing is racing. And one thing I can tell you, once you put that helmet on, you put that virtual visor down, yeah, you're all competitors out there. And something to note right now, under this yellow flag, we saw no takers down to pit road. I know that we only had a couple laps under green flag, but it shows you that track position is definitely worth it, and maybe the tire degradation just isn't quite coming into play yet. That's Mike Cook right there in that 00 machine. He's going to be lining up down low on the 3rd row in the 5th place for this restart right here. These cars are getting gridded up 2 by 2 as the pace car once again rounds out of turn 4 right now. We'll see if this 2nd and 3rd row has that same kind of accordion effect that the initial start has, as our leader in the 33 gets a great jump, much cleaner throughout the rest of the field right now as these cars accelerate their way down into turn 1, kind of form it up single file really through the top 5, really almost through the top 10, and then maybe a little bit of double file racing, maybe through 15th and further on back.
And you can see just how much steering input you really have to put into these corners. I mean, it doesn't look too complicated. Just a couple common sweeping turns, but man, you really got to put it in there to get that car to hit the bottom apex on this one.
Definitely, and I think the cars going around the bottom of the racetrack is what we're going to see all night here tonight. There's not really going to be a top groove here at North Wilkesboro, but with all the bumps in the racetrack and the low grip that it has, if you get tossed up out of that bottom line, it can be almost a death sentence with the cars lining up around the bottom just to go by one, as we have some 2 wide action with David Trumbley back here, back with the number 23 car on screen. That's also Cook Quick that he's battling it out with right now. We also have the number 70 car back there, starting to charge his way up through the field. Remember, that was Aaron Smith on the pole, started from the back. As we're riding along board right now, this is Brandon LeClaire in the number 21, getting a great view of this battle up front here, well, right in front of him, Chris.
That's right, and that's going to be another feature of this track that can be a little frustrating. With passing being so hard, you can be in the position of the 21 right there, where you have really good speed and really good pace, but you have them stacked up like this in front of you, and either car has the ability to have an advantage over the other, and you are just stuck there waiting for somebody to finish the pass. And you can see he's right there. He has the pace, and finally the 23 fading back a little bit, and he'll have a chance to make a challenge for position.
You're right. He had to be so patient right there and just kind of bide his time. And then once that 96 got around the 23, he went ahead and took that lower groove away from the 23. As it looks like we're going to continue here. The 21 continues to ride the bottom and try to take that position away. This is the number 41 car on your screen, James Kaufman. Looks like he had a little bit of an incident just a moment ago. He's riding the bottom, and looks like he got loose, as we also have a yellow on the racetrack. Looks like this developed. Maybe the 70 car of Aaron Smith is involved.
Yeah, your chase leader as well as the 5 car facing the wrong way as well.
Yeah, we were taking a look at what happened to James Kaufman, and thankfully he got bailed out of his mistake by a multi-car pileup here that happened that causes this yellow flag to fly on the racetrack. And I'm watching the field right now. Don't see any takers down to pit road as we get this replay, Chris.
Yeah, following along with Dylan Dellinger there in the 5. And looks like he... Well, let's see, he hit the corner as normal here, but he had the 96 right behind him. Nope, nothing yet. Going down into turn 1. And, oh, just overcooked it into the corner. And, ooh, unfortunately, Aaron Smith, wrong place, wrong time, gets caught up trying to avoid the accident.
Dominoes can fall, and most of the time when dominoes fall in racing, they do not fall in your favor. We're riding on board here with Aaron Smith, that number 70 machine. We're seeing the number 5 just get loose there in front of him, come down the racetrack, and also the 70 was trying to get slowed down while other cars were behind him, and yeah, just dominoes starting to fall out there. No malicious intent, but a couple cars turned around. I think I see the 70 dive down to pit road, maybe take care of any damage that he got from that incident. Set the grid up front. Nothing's really changed. It's still the 33 leading the way over the 83. That's Kevin McCann, our leader. Brandon Mefford in second place. Brian McCann third. Tim Schofield fourth. And Mike Cook rounding out the top 5 in the 00 machine. Something to note, Chris. The 33 under these green flag laps has been setting fast lap after fast lap. It looks like he might be the class of the field tonight.
Well, the McCanns have shown a lot of pace on the short tracks. Really, their specialty has seemed to have been the longer tracks, where they seem to run well, but haven't had much luck on finishing the deal this season. But very competent drivers on the short courses as well, and they're showing that here today with Kevin leading Brian in third. So they got that inside line on lock here for this restart.
They do have that inside line on lock with the 33 and the 3 down low here as Barney, the flagman, has the green flag in his hands, and pretty clean restart from our field right now. The front row getaway, single file, little bit of side-by-side action there for 4th place. I think that's between Tim Schofield and Mike Cook in the 00. Mike was one of those guys that we were riding on board with earlier in the show. Also, you got David Brown in the number 7. That's the bright green car on the screen making his way up through the field as well. Pretty clean racing for the most part here in the top 10. Most of the incidents have been just a little bit further back in the pack, Chris.
Yeah, you can see things starting to get a little dicey here. The 96 car looking really sporty. That's David Trumbley in the orange car. He is looking ready to make a move here off of this restart, but unfortunately, once again, stuck in his position until he can be able to work underneath one of the cars in front of him.
Yeah, one of the battles we got going on right now is between Chris Mefford and Stoney Benfield on the racetrack right now for 9th place. That is between the 46 and, yeah, the 75 that we are showing here on screen. These are the 2 cars that are too wide right now. The orange car down low, 95, that's going to be David Trumbley. I'm sorry, the 96, battling it out with the 75. That's the black car up top. That's Stoney Benfield. And pretty clean as it looks like we got one into the inside wall on the front straightaway, but we stay green on the racetrack right now. That's the 48 of Curtis Rogers. Looks like he is going to get that car turned around, but just a single car is not going to bring out the yellow flag right now, as also the 23 has got a problem.
Yeah, Cook Quick going around at the inside of turns 3 and 4 there, I believe. So he'll get that spun back around, and this is the incident with Cook Quick, and again, just the back end stepping out on him. He goes down into the grass. Really a pretty benign as far as the incident goes, so no harm, no foul. He'll continue on, and we'll stay green.
Yeah, still green on the racetrack right now. Chris, one of the things that you mentioned about North Wilkesboro is that it's such an old racetrack. It's got a lot of bumps, and it's pretty low grip, and I think right now it's really throwing all of these drivers for a loop. We're working lap 26 right now. We do have these stage breaks, but we're only really halfway through, or just past halfway through this first stage. I wonder if we're going to get a little bit of a rhythm of a green flag run as we ride along board the number 3 car of Brian McCann. You gotta love the retro mustache to go with the retro racetrack. This is a great look going on, especially for the circle track. I love it, and he's racing hard right now out there for the lead.
That he is, and you got to think 28 laps into this run, these tires have got to be absolutely used up at this point. I mean, this surface is a lot like a cheese grater. It's southern asphalt, which we've mentioned is a lot rougher than what you see in other parts of the country. And that southern asphalt, and it's aged southern asphalt, is very tough on the tires, and we are very deep into this run. So these guys are in deep waters right now trying to keep these cars underneath them, let alone race for position.
I'm not sure when the last repave of North Wilkesboro was, but I know that this place originally opened in 1960, and we're watching a battle between the top three right now on the racetrack, as it looks like the number 3 of Brian McCann starting to take a look at the 83 of Brandon Mefford on track. These top 3 have really pulled away from the rest of the field by about a second and a half. Things are pretty calm back there, but the battle up front rages between Kevin McCann, our leader, Brandon Mefford in the red car, and then Brian McCann in that majority yellow and blue there in 3rd place on the screen. And right now, Brian McCann in the 3, that 3rd place seems to be a little bit faster than Brandon Mefford right now, but he's got to find a way by. And Chris, it looks like the bottom of the racetrack, you got to get there if you want to make the pass.
Yeah, this is going to be a bottom feeder style race for sure. And you know, you talk about the top 3 and a bit of a breakaway from the rest of the field, but if you watch those cars, they are sliding around the track quite a bit. They all look pretty tail happy as they go through the turns. I mean, these are cars, they may be the fastest on the track, but by no means are they the most comfortable.
Something to note, nobody has come down pit road in terms of the front runners on a strategy call. A couple cars came down to maybe fix a little bit of damage, but now we might be starting to see a little bit of separation between the 33 and the 83. And I think that this makes Brian McCann in that 3rd place want to get around Brandon Mefford even more. I think we'll start to see even more pressure applied for that 2nd place here, as you don't want to let the leader run away. Is right on board right now. Here's the number 2 car of Neil Quick. Looks like he's making his way underneath the number 7 of David Brown in that green car. He's going to take that position away, promote Neil Quick up to 5th place right now. His next competitor in his sights is going to be the number 12 of Tim Schofield in 4th. Back here a little bit further back in the pack, we've got Brandon Leclerc in that 15th spot, taking a look under the number 96 of David Trumbley. That's the orange car. They're going to battle it out side by side. Out of 3, there's quite a few bumps right there, and you see the 96 gets squeezed and pretty loose, almost makes contact into the wall, Chris.
Yeah, and he got a bad entry into the next corner as well, so things going from bad to worse there for the 96. As we follow along inside of David Trumbley's machine, you see the 21 getting by underneath, and he has his hands full there off of turn 4. So having to do quite a bit of counter steering just to keep that one pointed straight, as he nearly lost the back end of it, and there he goes again, almost losing it off the corner.
Loosey-goosey, it looks like out there right now for David Trumbley, as he's just trying to hang on to this race car. Working lap 39, about 10 and a half laps left in this first stage before he can come down to pit road, get a fresh set of tires, maybe take a breath and calm down out there. But until then, he is going to have his hands full on the racetrack, hanging on to that number 96 car. Still, nothing has changed up front between our leaders. The top 3 remain the same. The number 3 car is still trying to find a way around the 83, but really, the 83 hasn't let go of our leader of Kevin McCann. You know, there's a little bit of a gap there, but not enough to let go of our leader. And then it's about 2 seconds now, all the way back to 4th place of Tim Schofield. And something that we saw earlier, that number 2 of Neil Quick in 5th place, he made that pass earlier, and he's slowly but surely reeling in that 4th place, as it looks like the number 70 car, that's Aaron Smith, all the way up to 10th place. He had those problems, Chris, and he's making his way back through the field right now.
Yeah, had to take it to pit road there after that first caution. But Aaron has shown he is definitely one of the fastest here. He's passed a lot of cars, even with some cosmetic damage on the number 70.
A little bit of cosmetic damage might not hurt him so much at a short track like North Wilkesboro. Maybe last week at Michigan, a little bit more detrimental, but here, maybe not so much. I would just consider it maybe like a scab on the knee or an elbow. little bit of a war wound, as it looks like now we've got that battle for 4th place right now. Neil Quick taking a look underneath the 12 of Tim Schofield. That's through turns 1 and 2 right now. They're going to go down the back straightaway side by side, but I think the number 2 carrying the speed on the bottom is easily going to take that position, promote Neil Quick up to the 4th place, Chris.
Oh, and Brian McCann making a move on Brandon Mefford there for the 2nd spot. Finally able to get it underneath. I noticed he was taking a bit of a different approach on corner entrance a few laps, trying to size him up, but Mefford so far able to hold him off on the high side.
Yeah, the number 3 car of Brian McCann definitely took a shot down low at the 2nd place car of Brandon Mefford, the red and silver car, but wasn't able to pull off that pass. Something I'm noticing also in front of our leader, we're starting to run into a little bit of lapped traffic, and he's got maybe arm's distance between him and 2nd place right now. But once he starts to collect more of these lapped cars, I think it'll play more of a factor of the overall face of this race. But looks like Cook Quick is going to stay to the top side, let these cars kind of go by him underneath here. And we're going to be closing out this stage here in just a few more laps. Still our leader out front, number 33, Kevin McCann, leading the way. Our best battle on the racetrack right now, kind of that 2nd place right now. Brandon Mefford and Brian McCann, and I don't think there's any points handed out for stage finishes here, but I'm sure that these guys are going to battle it out hard here for these 50 laps, Chris.
I think at this point, these guys have to be salivating thinking about a fresh set of tires sitting on pit road right now.
I think you are right, and yeah, salivating at the mouth, especially for drivers maybe like that number 96 car of David Trumbley that we saw was really loose earlier. And looks like we got a little bit of side-by-side. This is Joshua Funkhauser. Haven't mentioned him much this broadcast in the 81. That's the gray and orange car. David Brown in that bright green car, can't miss him, riding it around the top side here. And we've got the yellow on the racetrack right now to end the 1st stage. Like you said, Chris, I think a sigh of relief for a lot of these drivers to come down and get a fresh set of shoes.
Yeah, I can just picture it right now. Pretty much the whole field of drivers letting go of the wheels right now and stretching their fingers out. I'm sure it was white knuckle there for probably the last 20-25 laps.
Definitely very white knuckle, as all of these competitors were just kind of hanging on to the cars. Low grip racetrack, high degradation on the tires, 50 laps. Yeah, a lot of wiggling around back there, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see the entire field come down to pit road. As yeah, we've got the number 33, Kevin McCann, leading the entire field down to pit road. These cars are going to fill up with gas, take 4 new sets or 4 new tires on their machines. I would assume not going to see any 2-tire stops here, but biggest thing, make sure to stop on your marks. Don't overshoot the pit box like I always do out there. So easy to make the little mistakes, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, pit road entrance here is definitely a tricky one with the weird wall and lack of a pit wall. As you see, Aaron Smith giving up quite a few spots. So pit road here is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, looks like there might be a few little shakeups there after pit road, but we're going to take a quick commercial break here and be right back with this restart.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws late model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
Here we are at North Wilkesboro, lining up for this restart here for the IROC Challenge Series, currently working lap 56 of 125 total. Kevin McCann down on the bottom in the number 33 car is going to lead the field to the restart. Barney, the flagman, has the green flag, and we've got a green flag here on the restart to start stage 2, as it looks like the number 3 car, that's Brian McCann's going to take away that second place position from the 83 of Brandon Mefford. That's a big change in track position, as it looks like we've got more double file racing throughout the field, maybe 5th place on back, Chris.
Yeah, Brian really able to take advantage of that more advantageous position on the restart, moves up into second. And this is pretty much a reset. Everybody on fresh rubber, everybody on even footing here. And Aaron Smith up in the 8th position now, going to work, going to try the outside of Brown in the 7th.
Yeah, looks like that is the number 7, the green car of David Brown. As we've got a yellow on the racetrack, I believe that's the 21. Brandon LeClaire turned around on the front straightaway. I see a little bit of damage on the front left fender here. Take a peek at what's going on. Looks like maybe a few cars in front of him. And I think, yeah, you know, cold tires coupled with a happy right foot, and I think it was just a self-spin coming out of turn 4, and unfortunately made pretty hard contact with the front and that pit lane wall.
Yeah, when you're restarting here on cold tires, you really gotta get on the gas like you have an egg resting under that pedal. You got to really ease into it off the corner. You slam that gas, and that is exactly what's going to happen. You cook those rear tires, and you go right around.
An egg under the pedal is always a great analogy there. And to put that into reference, everybody, if you've ever driven in snow, it's so easy to spin the tires. And so if you picture that you've got an egg underneath that throttle pedal, you got to be so careful with that right foot there, and that's exactly what these drivers have to do, because they have so much horsepower in their race cars, and it's such a low grip racetrack that they really have to be careful with that right foot and not to spin the tires. A little bit of a dance out there, and with a low grip track and with how many bumps North Wilkesboro has, the more laps you get on the tires, the trickier and trickier that becomes, and makes what these competitors doing out there even more impressive, as it looks like we're going to have a couple more laps under the safety car right now. Something to note, the 3 got by the 83 on that restart, but that means they're going to have to line up side by side on this restart, Chris.
Yeah, we could really see a reversal of fortunes here, depending on how the 3 and the 83 both fire off on this restart. And you can't count out the 2 car, Neil Quick. He's been just lingering in the periphery here during the duration of this event, really. And he could really sneak up there and make some noise.
That's a great catch, Chris. We were watching the number 2 car make his way up through the field, and here he is sitting in the 4th position for that restart. He's going to be outside on row number 2, a great place to capitalize on good track position, but going to be interesting to see if the 83 gets aggressive down there on the bottom row of the 2nd lane here, as pace car is going to peel off down to pit road. Our leader Kevin McCann is going to get a great jump as the green flag waves. The 83 is going to take a look down the inside of the 3 car for the 2nd place. It's going to be a battle right now, 2 by 2 for 2nd and 3rd place right now, but the 83 of Brandon Mefford down low on the racetrack. We're riding out the back of our leader, Kevin McCann, right now. That's Brandon Mefford in the red and silver car, and Brian McCann in the yellow and blue car up top, and it looks like the number 3 is going to squeeze his way through, but the 83 says, no, not so fast.
Yeah, McCann really sailed it off into the corner there, hoping to be able to pull it down in front of the 83 and seal the deal. Unfortunately, the 83 was not willing to roll over there, but looks like McCann has now gotten clear of Mefford, is able to pull down in front, and now Neil Quick is going to try to basically make a shot at getting under the 83 there.
Riding on board with the 70, this is Aaron Smith making his way up through the field. Something to note, everybody, this was our pole sitter. He won last round at Michigan, and it certainly looks like he's got his car pretty hooked up right now as he's going to take a dive down the inside of the 12 car. That's Tim Schofield in the red, white, and blue on the high side of the racetrack. They're going to battle it out right now for what is 6th position currently. Aaron Smith in that bright yellow number 70 Spartan car making his way up through the field, and I'm pretty impressed with the drive that I've seen out of Aaron Smith. He's actually been turned around on the racetrack so far tonight, but he's keeping up with this lead group, and I think he's showing that he's racing very, very clean out there. Great sportsmanship out of that number 70 car. Is still up front right now. Nothing has changed. The McCann brothers are just kind of leading the way out front right now. This is still the best battle on the racetrack, as it looks like David Brown now in the 7. The green car is going to take a look under Tim Schofield. And once again, Chris, the bottom of the racetrack is where you want to be.
Yeah, despite a couple drivers making the outside work a time or two, the inside line is really proving to be the quick way around. As you see the 7 car of David Brown fighting back underneath the 12 there on the inside. Schofield has really faded quite a bit in this second stage of the race. He was up battling in the top 5 at one point. Now beginning to fade back towards the back half of the top 10.
I tell you what, he put up one heck of a fight on the top side, and David Brown in that number 7 car just said, the heck with this. I'm going to send it into turn 3 and clear this car and get rid of this battle. Hey, check out this number 2 car right now. Neil Quick making a move underneath the 83 of Brandon Mefford. This is a battle for 3rd place on the racetrack. And Chris, you called it. Watch out for this number 2 of Neil Quick. He's fast out there right now.
Neil is peaking at the right time. A runner-up finish, I believe, last week at Michigan. And that car has looked really strong the last few weeks. And that streak is continuing on here. Oh, and they make contact going into turn 1. And Mefford up against the wall. Tough break for the 83. He's able to keep it straight. Hopefully that car not too wounded.
Tough break for the 83 indeed. And let me tell you, drivers, they don't forget things. And they tend to hold on to things quite a long time. Let's keep an eye on that 83, and maybe if he runs into the number 2 car later into the race, and see if there's any issues between the two, maybe a quarrel. But looks like the 46 car right here, Chris Mefford. I mentioned a little bit of those tag team battles, and here we are with Brandon Mefford 4th place, Chris Mefford in 5th place. Chris is the majority black with the red car. Taking a look underneath his brother right here, I think maybe a little bit of that damage is coming into play, and the 83 car is slipping back, because it looks like we're going to have 3-wide racing coming down the front straight. Aaron Smith thinks better of it and says, maybe I'll just take one at a time right now.
Yeah, Aaron Smith's already been bit once this race, maybe thinking discretion the better part of valor there, as he falls in line behind Chris Mefford in the 46, as Brandon Mefford unfortunately fading a little bit after making that contact with the concrete.
Yeah, a little bit of contact, a little bit of damage on the car, and right now for everybody, nothing has changed up front. It's still a battle between the brothers, Kevin McCann and Brian McCann, doing identical lap times up front, 1945s from both of them this last time. But Chris, I gotta give it to your eagle eye. The fastest car on the racetrack that last time, I'm sorry, second fastest car was that number 2 car of Neil Quick. And he's really the only one that's been able to hang with the McCann brothers in the speed that these cars are showing right now. But maybe now that he's got the track position up into 3rd place, maybe we'll see some lapped cars come into play and the number 2 start to reel in the leaders a little bit more. But let's keep an eye on that gray number 2 car. Oh, as we've got a couple cars around on the racetrack. No yellow right now. That's Chris Wally in the 51, the white machine. Maybe something happened down the back straightaway. I saw a couple cars involved with that one. Looks like the 51 up high. Oh, just gets loose, and unfortunately, it looks like maybe the 81 was involved. He was just wrong place, wrong time out there.
Yeah, it looked like the 51 maybe started to go around on the outside, and unfortunately the 81 landed with him.
Yeah, we do have a caution on the racetrack right now. We'll attempt to take a look at maybe what caused that out there, but do have a caution working lap 82 right now. Kevin McCann leader. As we take a look here, we've got the 51. That's the car that we were riding along with earlier. This is going to be a replay of that incident. I believe this is what brought out the caution flag, because there was multiple cars here involved. And as we see, the 51 really just gets loose out of turn 2 with that wheel spin and the bumps and collects a couple cars. And I think that is what brought out the full course yellow on the racetrack. Now, it's been quite a few laps, but are we going to see takers down down pit road here, Chris? Or are we going to see people stay out on the racetrack?
Well, they have 4 sets of tires, and they're just deep enough into that run to be starting to feel the effects of the tires wearing out. So I wouldn't be too terribly surprised, especially towards the back of the field.
Yeah, looks like the majority of the field stays out on the racetrack. Only 2 cars on pit road currently. Not going to be enough cars to really be a big strategy call to kind of swing the tables for you. But we're going to get a restart here, probably working lap 85, coming to lap 86 might be the green flag here. And to set the race so far tonight, it really has been the story of the number 3s. The number 33, Kevin McCann, and the number 3, Brian McCann. They have led the way so far. Chris, that number 2 car, you called it, Neil Quick. Now that he's in the 3rd position, he's going to be starting down low on this restart. Maybe could we see a shakeup up front?
You know, I was thinking it might have been a blessing for him to have the clear track that he did before the caution, so he had a chance to kind of focus on his own race. Well, this is even better for Neil in the 2 car, because now he's going to be right there with your leaders, and he's going to be in a pretty good spot to maybe make a jump on the 3.
He is going to be in a very good spot. And one more thing I want to get your take on real quick as we get one more lap before we go green. These tires are pretty used. Do you have to be careful with the wheel spin here on this restart?
Absolutely. I think there's a huge chance of wheel spin trying to get these cars back up to speed once the green comes back out. These are pretty worn out tires at this point. I mean, we're pretty deep into this run, and it's going to take a little bit of nursing to keep those to last till the end of the stage.
You heard it. Let's keep an eye out through this restart for any wheel spin involved as the pace car dives down to pit road, and our leader, 33, gets a big jump on the bottom. That's actually going to set up the 2nd row pretty clean, but oh my gosh, look at Aaron Smith try to take it 3 wide around the outside of turns 1 and 2. That yellow machine looks like it's got a lot of speed right now, but Chris, you got to be patient in where you can make your passes out here, and I think he thought better of that top lane as Neil Quick continues to try to clear that 46 of Chris Mefford. That's Chris now, not Brandon. And he does clear him for that 3rd place, but now the number 70 is going to be applying that pressure for that 4th place that Chris Mefford currently hangs on to.
Yeah, that restart a little bit topsy-turvy there. I was surprised at how gutsy of a move the 70 of Aaron Smith made on that restart. It was nice to see him make it out unscathed after that move, and now Chris Mefford beginning to fall back into his clutches. So Aaron Smith beginning to make some moves. Oh, we got some contact there. That I believe was the 25 ended up in the wall, losing the front bumper. Actually, I believe he already had the front bumper missing, but still some pretty solid contact with concrete.
It looks like classic short track racing, as we do have another yellow flag on the racetrack currently. Going to take a look at this replay first. That's the 00 getting up into the 25 on screen. That's the silver and purple car. Hard contact into the outside wall. Take another look here. Maybe something was brewing beforehand, as it looks like 3 wide off of turn 4, just a funnel that always comes to an end, and then the 00 really charges it in there, hip checks the 25 up into the wall. I think that's just a lot of short track racing and not an inch given between any competitor.
Yeah, as
right now. Yeah, still up front right now. Still got the 33, but hey, Chris, check this out. This time looks like the leader is going to bring the entire field down to pit road.
Yeah, another moment where these drivers are probably very happy to see some fresh tires. I believe this might be our second stage break, and that will mean that when we go back to green, the 70 of Aaron Smith, by virtue of his victory at Michigan last week, is going to have to go to the back of the line again, if I remember the rules right.
Yes, this is the end of stage 2. That was my bad for missing that call there. That yellow flag on the racetrack was indeed to end stage 2 out here. These stages actually get shorter in distance as the night goes on. This final stage now will only be 35 laps. It's actually going to be less than 35 laps here because these cars are going around under the safety car right now. Taking a look at this 51, because I did not see him come down pit road and take any tires. Looks like the top 7 on the racetrack did not come down, and that is really going to shake things up in terms of the picture of the front of the field, Chris.
I gotta say, that is absolutely terrifying. I would not want to be out front here with less than fresh tire. Oh, they did pit fairly recently. Okay, so they're not as far off as I thought. So they're not in desperation point yet, but it is going to be an uphill battle, and then downhill once you go into turn 3.
Yes, it is an uphill and downhill battle here at North Wilkesboro all day long. A little bit like playing Chutes and Ladders out there, if you know that game. But you're right, these cars are on older rubber. They're going to be a little bit of a hurdle for, for these cars that have been up front all day. But guess what? You got to make your way through, and different strategies come to play. And one thing that I'm going to say here is that maybe if there's a lot of late race yellows, it might set these cars up in an advantageous track position later in the race. So we'll just have to see how it all shakes out. But right now, new face to the front of the field. That's Chris Wally in the 51. That's the white car down low. He's going to lead the field to the green flag here. And then that's the 20, Jamie Abril outside there, followed by James Kaufman, Bill Walker, and Brandon Leclerc. The pace car is going to peel off down pit road, and we've got green flag racing once again, as it looks like these front 7 have a little bit of an issue getting going in comparison to some of these faster cars behind. But the 51 of Chris Wally gets a great jump on the field. They start to single file out through the top 4 right now. Double file back there with maybe the number 96 of David Trumley. We highlighted him earlier in that orange car, but right now for second place, that's James Kaufman and Jamie Abril battling it out, Chris.
And right now we're going to see the McCanns have to work through traffic here, something they haven't had to do all race. Even if they have the tire advantage, it's still going to be definitely a rude awakening for them, as we have a battle up towards the front with McCann trying to make,
we've got 3 wide racing coming down the back straightaway here as the number 96 of David Trumley shoves it down the inside. That's the 33 of Kevin McCann all the way up top. This funnel always comes to an end, and the 33 is being really aggressive as he sends what looks like, oh my goodness, the 19. How these cars are all staying straight on the racetrack, I have no idea, but the 33 right now is on a mission towards the front of the field, and he is taking no prisoners out there, Chris.
Yeah, unfortunately, the 19 car slides off the nose of Walker. He's able to keep it going, but the 21 of Brandon Leclerc up there, that car has been beaten on today, and somehow he's still got it up in the 6th position, and he's got a lot of fast cars behind him.
That's the 33 and the 2. We were used to seeing those cars battle it out up there in the top 3, and right now they're all the way back there. Kevin McCann is in 8th place right now. I'm looking at Neil Quick. He's back in 6th, and it's just kind of jostling for that track position, and not only track position front to back, but high and low on the racetrack is we're really seeing almost a blockage with these cars that have the older, slower tires, but these cars behind them have nowhere to go, and you got to pick the right lane, but which lane is the right lane, Chris?
Well, whichever one Brian McCann chose, since he's up to second, we got cars slide and caution flag out.
Looks like that was the 20 there. Jamie Abril, the black and green car. I think I saw him maybe charge it into turn 1 pretty deep on the brakes and make some contact with another car that was up along on the high side, and looks like it was the 41 that was also involved. That's James Kaufman, and unfortunately both of them ended up pretty heavy damage and in the wall because of it, Chris.
Yeah, you can see here right in front of the 33 is the 20. He makes a move to try to go for a little bit of a crossover. Unfortunately, can't make it stick. Car slides up and collects the 41 with him. And Aaron Smith just barely squeaking through there. Keep an eye on that bright yellow car. We're going to actually ride along with them. And if you listen close enough, you can actually hear him pucker up there as he avoids this incident.
Wow, you know, it doesn't get much closer than that. And in racing, you got to have luck. And not all of it is good luck, but right there, Aaron Smith had good luck and it paid off for him. Something to note right now, the number 3 car has made his way back up to the front of the field. He is currently sitting in second place. That's going to put him in a great place for this restart. And also, the number 2 car of Neil Quick finds himself in the 4th position right now, Chris. Both of these cars have the fresher tires in comparison to the cars around them, and I think we're going to see him probably get pretty aggressive here on the restart, wouldn't you think?
I can't see any reason not to. You're going to be outside front row. You're going to have a car on older tires right to your inside. I mean, this is going to be really Brian McCann's chance to shine. And if he can get out in front, the other cars on the same tire strategy as him are still mired back behind some other cars. So this will be his chance to not only wrestle the lead away, but maybe drive off into the distance. And with not that many laps remaining at this point, this could be his chance to sneak out a victory.
Definitely. And something to note right now, this is a Dash for Cash race tonight, and the highest finishing driver from the 9th to 16th championship position right now will be taking home that $100. And I think I'm seeing the number 51 car, Chris Wally, our leader right now, is leading the way. So if he hangs on to that number 51 car is going to be taking home some cash. So that's a pretty big incentive to get your elbows out here for this restart, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you got some money on the line. You're going to want to step it up here if you got a chance. I mean, who doesn't want $100?
Right? Yeah, I'll take $100, especially if it means just maybe making a few enemies out there, but gotta make sure to race at least clean and maybe apologize afterwards a little bit. Looks like Trumbley is also in that Dash for Cash, so let's keep an eye on both that 51 and that 96 as the pace car dives down pit road. The 51, a fantastic restart, already clearing the number 3 car, going down into turn 1, but most importantly, Neil Quick there in that number 2 gets a great run out of turn 2, and we're going to have a battle for the lead as Brian McCann in the 3 just really slides it up underneath the 51 with those fresh tires, and I think he's going to check out from the rest of the field right now. It looks like we got a car around in the middle of the field. I think that was maybe Jamie Abril again in the number 20.
Well, cautions breed cautions, and of course, you get money on the line and the checkered flag within sight, and things tend to get a little more aggressive.
They do get aggressive as, yeah, that was the number 20 there involved in this wreck again. Seeing him come down the back straightaway here and going around turn 4. side by side with the 33 underneath. And oh, you know what? I think he just got into the outside wall, and then the number 70 was right there behind him. A little bit of a chain reaction and dominoes once again. And like I said, dominoes in racing, most of the time, they don't fall your way. And unfortunately, Abril was on the bad end of the stick here. We're going to see him get checked up into the wall, and that's what's going to cause the 70 to get into him there. No fault to the 70, really, just unfortunate circumstance. And the 20 is parked in front of the field. Looks like a couple cars there also involved. 23 of Cook Quick getting a little bit of that damage as well, but we'll re-rack them, restack them as we ride along here. This is the 23 of Cook Quick. Just going to have a car all of a sudden in our lap on the front straightaway, which is not to be expected. And ooh, yeah, just kind of a glancing blow. And yeah, the number 19 there also spins in front. 23 is going to take this opportunity to fix any damage down there on pit road and set the field for us once again. Brian McCann used those fresh tires to his advantage and leapfrogged his way up to the lead position. Chris Wally in the 51 and David Trumbley in that orange car. Both of those drivers are eligible for that Dash for Cash $100 tonight. There's only 12 laps to go, coming to 11 laps to go. That's going to be a really good battle to watch throughout the rest of this race, as well as who's going to take home the checkered flag tonight. Chris, this might be one of our last restarts. If you were the number 51 right now, calling the shots to this driver, what's your advice to him?
Get down behind the 3 as quick as you can and get ready to hang out with your friend Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin might be his best friend later at the hot dog stand in the infield here, as they're going to re-rack them. Pace cars coming out of turn 4. We're going to get a restart. I'm sorry. We're going to get a restart next time by. That's going to be 10 laps to go. This time, we're going to line them up 2 by 2. Yeah, Chris, I think that the inside line, definitely where you want to be, especially if you're the 51 of Chris Wally. But I'm going to tell him first, make sure you nail this restart. If you don't nail this restart in the acceleration zone, that 96 is going to slide up the inside of you, and you're going to have a race on your hands that you're not going to want. As looks like Brian McCann is ready for this restart finally, as the field is now racked up 2 by 2. Pace car dives down to pit road. Kevin McCann gets a great jump. He is going to clear the field before he even gets to turn 1, and crucially, the 51 is also going to clear him, but he slides up the racetrack. That's going to allow the number 96 to get his nose down below 2 wide now, but the 51 is going to make contact. The number 96 gets into the left rear of Chris Wally, and we've got another yellow flag on the racetrack.
Well, unfortunately for Chris Wally, he's not going to have that $100 bill to wipe his tears with, as a bit of a heartbreaker there. He had already lost some ground, and both drivers just going for the same piece of real estate sends the 51 around, and unfortunately, Neil Quick, nowhere to go, piles in.
Innocent bystander there. Neil Quick, the number 2 car, who had a great view of this whole thing. He really just... wrong place, wrong time. We're going to ride on board here with Kevin McCann. We're going to see the orange car down low get in too deep up into the 51, and then also collect Neil Quick. And whoo, Neil was the unlucky one, but Kevin McCann was the lucky one out of all of that in clearing it with no contact. Now, I know that the iRacing rules with the yellow flags, they will re-rack them based off of, where that yellow flag actually fell, and that means the number 2 car is up in the 4th place right now. But with all of that damage on his car, Chris, wouldn't you think that's going to be a pretty big thing to overcome out there?
Well, with it's going to be 4 laps to go. At this point, you got nothing left to lose. The car's already damaged. It's not gonna fix itself in that time. So just ride it out and make the most of it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. kind of made your bed out there. Even though somebody else made it for you, you got to have to sleep in it. And right now, 6 laps to go under the safety car. Going to have a couple more laps here before we go back to green flag. And we do have an available 3 green-white checkers to us tonight. Hopefully don't have to use all of them, but we've seen maybe some elbows come out with $100 on the line. This number 96 car, David Trumbley, has shown that he is fast out there tonight, and he has also shown that he wants to take home that $100. And not only that, but if he wins tonight, that means he will lock himself into the next round of the chase here for the IROC Challenge Series. So not only $100 on the line, but an advancement into the next round as well, Chris.
Well, you know what they say, you don't make friends with salad. These guys are going to try to beef their way into the next round, and the 3-car of McCann is going to have to raise the stakes if he wants to make it in on a victory here today.
Yeah, the number 96 car is at a disadvantage when it comes to tire life and tire wear. The difference is about 11 laps right now. David Trumbley has 40 laps on his tires, while our leader in the number 3 car only has 29 laps. The grid is lined up 2 by 2. The pace car is going to be diving down to pit road. We're going to be getting green flag here with 3 laps to go, and the number 3 car gets a fantastic start, clears the 96 before turn 1, and the number 70 once again makes it 3 wide on the outside of turn 1. The number 2 car surprisingly hanging on to 3rd place, as it looks like we've got a couple cars around on the back straightaway. We're still green on the racetrack right now. The 70 is side by side with the 33 for what looks like 4th place right now, working 2 laps to go. Most importantly, the 96 hang on to it. David Trumbley, wicked loose out of turn 2. Our leader is going to get 1 to go, this time by Kevin McCann. I'm sorry, that's Brian McCann out front, as we've got a spin with the number 7 car back there, but looks like the final lap is underway. White flag has been thrown. The number 3 car of Brian McCann rounds out of turn 4. He is going to be your winner tonight at North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's a battle behind him for 4th place side by side. Your Dash for Cash winner, the 96 of David Trumbley. But I want to get a shot at this replay of Aaron Smith. It was side by side back there as everybody finishes it out right now. Doesn't have a rear bumper on that 70 car. As yeah, check out this last lap out of Aaron Smith, and that's also the 33 of Kevin McCann here. They round out of turn 4, and great respect shown out to all of these guys here. Chris, this is what North Wilkesboro is all about with the short track racing. Bumpers missing, fenders getting banged, a couple hearts getting ruined and broken, but ultimately a fantastic show.
Absolutely what short track racing is supposed to be. I mean, the car that finished in 3rd place didn't even have a bumper on it by the time he crossed the line. I mean, we were writing Neil Quick off, and he's able to just re-rack it and go for it with missing body panels. They're wrecking after the checkered, and we have a driver that's punched his ticket to the next round of the playoffs. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, definitely. And I know that we will be right back with our results here, and hopefully get some podium interviews out of our finishers tonight.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC Series, Kyle Steffens, UMP Modified and Silver Crown Driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws Late Model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
What a race here from North Wilkesboro tonight from the IROC Challenge Series, Chris. Action nonstop through all three stages, and our winner tonight was Brian McCann. As we're going to be taking a look at these race results, the number 3 car really found himself up front the majority of the night, and then through a little bit of strategy, continued to work his way up through some cars that didn't pit and ultimately took home the checkered flag, which advances him into the next round of the playoffs. Second place there, that's the number 96, David Trumbley. Something to note, he is our Dash for Cash winner. He will be taking home $100 here tonight. Third place, Neil Quick. Aaron Smith in the number 70. Great race to come back up to fourth. Kevin McCann rounds out the top 5. Chris Mefford, Tim Schofield, Joshua Funkhauser, Stoney Benfield, and Brandon Mefford there in the 10th place, Chris.
Outside of the top 10 was Bill Walker recovering to come home 11th over Jeff Napier. David Brown, a pretty elbows out day, comes home 13th over Brandon LeClaire, who got ran into everything except the pace car today, I think. Jesse King in 15th over James Kaufman. Mike Cook in 17th. Our first car laps down, Cook quick. Chris Wally and Jamie Abril completing the top 20. Dylan Dellinger and Curtis Rogers not making it to the finish.
Yeah, just a couple cars there that were involved in some accidents early on there. And once again, here we got our top finisher winning tonight's race. This is Brian McCann joining us in the booth. Brian, first of all, congratulations on taking home the checkered flag tonight and securing your way into the next round of the playoffs. How was the race for you tonight? You seemed pretty in control up front for the most part.
Yeah, thank you. Race car drove real good tonight. Actually put in a lot of practice, probably 200 some laps on this track just to learn all of its ins and outs. You know, it'd be tight entering the turn, it'd be super loose exit if you made a little mistake. Consistency was king. Had a interesting pit strategy there on stage 2 going into 3. I think we had about 8 some cars starting in front of us. Wasn't really sure what was going to happen. Just stayed patient for the most part, and ended up working out in our favor.
You mentioned that a little bit of an alternate strategy by some of the, I think it was the top 7 cars at the time. Some of our race analysts behind the scenes here were saying that, you know, the track position was actually going to win them the race, but you proved that the fresh tires were actually the better strategy call. And ultimately, do you think that's what it came down to, is just better grip out there?
Yeah, tires made a heck of a difference. I know they was only like, maybe 5 something laps difference, but that little bit was even enough to help us out, give us a little upper hand there to get around them. Yeah, I mean, it was tough out there tonight.
Now, I know that we are here at North Wilkesboro. We had a lot of great onboard shots of you tonight. And I got to ask you, it's an old school racetrack. Is that what the mustache is for? Because it was looking pretty sharp out there tonight.
Oh, you know it. Doing it for Dale.
Well, that's the number 3 on the side of your car as well, Brian. Congratulations on the race win tonight. And that means you are advanced into that next round. And yeah, looking forward to Phoenix Raceway. Actually pretty similar in terms of maybe how this racetrack races. How are your strengths there in comparison to here?
Decent at the track. It's not my best, but we'll see how it works out. I know it's the track has changed, and I haven't had a lot of time on the new pavement a little bit, but I'll put some practice in and maybe work on it a little bit.
Awesome, Brian. Well, do you have anybody that you would like to say thank you to or give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my wife, my family for letting me do this. You guys for doing the broadcast, everybody watching tonight, the league admins, the sponsors, huge thanks to them that they make all this happen. Yeah, thank you.
Well, congratulations to that number 3 car of Brian McCann, our race winner tonight here in North Wilkesboro. And Chris, I believe that you are with Neil Quick, our 3rd place finisher.
Well, Neil, no bumper. You ran into the driver's side door of somebody that spun in front of you. I mean, this race had a little bit of everything for us. Take us through your ride today.
Yeah, guys, kind of put myself behind the 8 ball. Kind of had a 4 qualified run, got a little bit loose in 3 and 4, and kind of put me in mid pack. So just kind of went to work, and this place was really a fun place to drive. You just got to be really consistent, and any little bit of trouble, and you get the wheel spin off the corner, or you can get tight getting in. So just kind of running good, consistent laps, and kind of started to make my way back through the field and up to the top there, first stage break, and then kind of stayed up there and had a pretty good car. Just unfortunately at the end there, I guess it was a driver that doesn't always race with us, but he decided he wanted to make a bold move there that didn't quite pay off, and I got collected up in it.
Now you go into that last restart, you know the car is wounded. What's going through your mind with how you plan on finishing that one out? Was 3rd place still on your mind, or were you thinking that we're just going to make the most of whatever's left?
Well, I'm going to add to the story here just for you guys to know. So when the car spun, I came up, got into it. I don't know if I had a Windows update come up, but all of a sudden my 3 monitors went straight to 1 monitor. And I was sitting in the back seat of the car, so I was scrambling to change field of view under that caution and trying to make the changes and make sure I had the proper idle speed and something to run with. I didn't want to get in the way on the restart if I had engine damage.
Definitely sounds like a challenge there. But
It was. I'm going to tell you, between the wrecked car and trying to go down to a field of view at 60 from 160, from 3 screens to 1 screens made it, or 1 screen made it really interesting there. So, but I've had practice at this. It's done it one other time, but it kind of scares you.
I would imagine so. With all that, Neil, I'm sure you got some people you want to thank.
Yeah, absolutely. The league admin that puts the races on, Chris Wiley, Brian Rick, Spartan Transportation LLC, 5 Star Graphics, Loud Pelto Media, R&R Racewear, all the people that make it happen for Thursday nights. We look forward to being here and racing with all these guys, and great group of guys to race with. So, and shout out for the family, let me have the time to do it.
All right, that's our runner-up finisher, or excuse me, 3rd place finisher tonight, Neil Quick in the 2 car. Back to you, Joey.
Yeah, that will do it for tonight's show here. And before we go, just want to say thank you once again to all of our sponsors. Zoe's Place, first up. Also have R&R Racewear, Evidence-Based Mommy, Lucky Finn, Loud Pedal TV, 5 Star Graphics, The Hot Dog Stand, Sim Coaches, and of course the organizers tonight, Chris Wally and the IROC Challenge Series. And as always, thanks to the team today, Chris, Joe, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store listed on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race for the IROC Challenge Series comes at you from Phoenix Raceway, Thursday, November 17th. Catch the action there at 9:45 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out all of the other broadcasts listed here on GSRC. And up next is the Grand Prix Legends at the Indianapolis Oval there. Make sure to turn us on Saturday, November 12th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.